Thank you for joining. We'll be starting in about 3 more minutes. Be starting in 1 more minute. Thank you for your patience and thank you for joining. Well, welcome everyone. I'm Marty Bailey. I'm the director of the Sibley Senior Association in Community Health at Sibley Memorial Hospital. And I also want to introduce Honora Precourt, who is our SSA manager, and she's the one that you hear from and hear all of our different events that we host and participate in over the course of the week. So we're glad to have her there. Today this webinar is being sponsored by Maple Heights Senior Living. Maple Heights Senior Living is located in Washington, D.C., and it's one of the newest boutique senior living residences. They have both assisted living and memory care. And they are a place where residents can enjoy life and friends and families can have peace of mind knowing that their loved one is being cared for with dignity and respect. You'll hear a little bit more about Maple Heights at the very end and be given an opportunity to write down information if you wish. So we're so grateful that Maple Heights is a sponsor of today's webinar and look forward to giving you some more information about that later. I'd also like to present my friend and colleague, Patricia Allman, who is the Sibley Senior Association's one of the meditation teachers, leaders for the SSA. And Patricia and I have known each other for a little bit now. I'm so pleased to count her also as a friend. And she I'll advance this so that we can see her slide. So she's been practicing meditation for over 40 years. I think she started when she was a baby. And she teaches all levels and ages. She does everything from silent retreats to corporate rooms. She got her JD from Dalhousie University Law School in Nova Scotia, and has served as a director and executive director at an international retreat center in Limoges, France, and the executive director of a similar retreat center in Nova Scotia, Canada, as well as was an executive director of a community development nonprofit in Halifax. She is a certified mediator, restorative justice facilitator, and an interdenominational chaplain, and is a writer. I've put a little thumbnail of her book, 8 Steps to an Authentic Life, Ancient Wisdom for Modern Times. That's available at Amazon. And she also is a regular contributor to Pathways magazine, which can be found all over the National Capital area. So I welcome you, Patricia, and thank you so much for coming to talk to us about meditation for beginners.
Well, thank you, Marty, and thank you, Honora. I appreciate you both so much and all you do with Sibley Seniors Association. Just a wonderful effort and offerings. So thanks for inviting me. And what I am presenting, I understand, is basically basic meditation. I'm sure some of you are meditators and some of you might be learning about this for the first time. But whether you have studied for 40 years or 1,000 years, it's always new, and it's always good to hear it again, because we're always new. Every moment is, what we're experiencing now, and I hope you'll pick up something helpful from this 45 minutes or so. And I also just want to mention that these times that we're in of greater isolation and greater stress, uncertainty, fear, and so on, it's really important that we take care of not only our bodies, but our minds. And it may be a little bit unfamiliar or mysterious how to do that. So this little session today is offering you just some information and a little bit of experience in what this kind of meditation is and how it can be so helpful, no matter what time we're in or how old anyone is, and so on. So that's what I hope to just communicate in a simple way. And of course, you're welcome to ask questions in the question box. So this is about meditation, and in particular about mindfulness meditation. So there are many kinds of meditation, and they're all good, I would say. Some of them may be just for relaxing, where you visualize a pleasant scene, like a tropical beach. And that can be very important if you're very stressed out and you just need to relax. And there are other meditations where you might be reciting something and so on. But mindfulness is the kind of meditation that's been studied a lot in the last couple of decades because it has incredible benefits for our minds and our bodies. Mindfulness is an inherent quality that we all have as human beings. It's the awareness or the ability to know where we are in any moment, to be present and open. But the problem with that is that we often are not present with where we are because our minds are so busy thinking about things, worrying about things, or just spacing out. So being mindful and present can be a little bit haphazard unless we have actual practice and training in how to do that. So mindfulness meditation is a very simple practice. It's not religious at all. It doesn't require any particular beliefs or non-beliefs. It just requires you as a human being to be interested in sitting down and being with yourself and looking at your mind. What makes mindfulness meditation so effective is that it uses what's called an object of meditation or a point of focus. So we intentionally decide to place our attention on something like our breath. The breath is the most common object of meditation because it's so natural and we always have it with us. And then we sit down, we decide we're going to just place our attention on our breathing, but then our minds wander, which is totally normal. And it's not only normal, it's part of this practice because it's impossible to keep your attention on something indefinitely. So this is a very kind and gentle practice where you're not expecting yourself to get rid of your thoughts or develop some kind of blank state of mind. You're just noticing the alternation between doing what you intend to do, just sitting with your breath, and then forgetting to do that. And when we forget to do that, we notice that we were thinking, and in a very non-judgmental, open way, we just notice that and we come back. So there's this repetitive practice of coming back to our intended focus again and again. And like any training, that sort of repetitive behavior actually changes the structure of our brains. It's how we learn things. We have to repeat them again and again. So if you think of learning to, drive, the first time you get in the car, you don't know anything. I'm talking about my own experience. I didn't have a clue. And I had to be shown where to put the key, where to put my feet, where to place my hands, where to look in the mirrors, not to mention all the rules, the roads, everything. Very difficult, very complicated. And the only way to learn how to drive is to have someone teach you and to study and then to do it again and again. And what happens, as with any training, is that you very quickly take it in, you internalize it, it becomes familiar and second nature. So when you're driving, you still have to pay attention, but you don't have to pay attention to every little detail. It's coordinated naturally. And that's the same thing with this kind of meditation, except that what you're actually coordinating and learning is how to be present in your own life. So what could be more meaningful than that? When we're not present in our lives, we're missing those living experiences. So I really obviously feel very passionate about this and encourage everyone to study more about it, read more. There's lots of information about mindfulness. And we're going to do a little session so that you can see what it feels like. I just wanted to mention one scientist. There are lots of scientific studies about mindfulness meditation. And I'll just mention one. There's a neurologist named Sarah Lazar, Lazar, who was I think she was a microbiologist or something like that. And she was also a marathon runner who developed some kind of injury that she wasn't able to heal with physical therapy and usual treatments. So she ended up being convinced to try yoga. And as some of you may know, yoga has a lot of mindfulness aspects and mindfulness meditation where there's some silence and you're paying attention to what you're doing. And often there's a period of just silent meditation. And she was very dubious about this because she's a scientist. She thought it was sort of airy-fairy. But she did it because she was desperate and discovered herself changing in very positive ways, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally. She said she felt more empathetic and more spacious to see and listen to other people. And she was really interested in what was going on. And she was so interested that she changed her field to neurology and started doing meditation studies with MRIs and so on to see what is going on in the brain when people do mindfulness meditation. If you are interested in seeing her, there's a short TED talk, if you know what those are, TED talks, with her describing this, and it's wonderful. But what she discovered, some of the many things she discovered, was that meditators have more gray matter in their prefrontal cortex, specifically in the areas responsible for memory and decision making. And especially pertinent to this Sibley Seniors group is that she found that the brains of 50-year-old meditators had the same amount of gray matter as the brains of 25-year-old people, unlike the brains of non-meditators whose brains naturally lose mass over time. So this kind of meditation is actually increasing the neural connections and the gray matter in the good areas of the brain. And there are many studies about how this can benefit memory and focus, attention, decision-making, all those executive functions. So it's like exercise for your brain, beyond being a very important human spiritual, with a small s, practice. It actually changes your brain in beneficial ways. Another brain change that many studies have found, including Dr. Lazar, was that it reduces the volume in your amygdala, which is the part of your brain that relates to stress. It's the primitive fight, flight, or freeze response. And so by diminishing that a bit, it relaxes our fear reaction and gives us a little more time to respond rather than just react thoughtlessly. And this is a kind of experience that meditators have described for eons. So it's really interesting how the science and the ages-old experience are confirming each other and meeting in a really helpful way. So just briefly, some of the other symptoms that many studies have shown are just decreased stress for people who meditate and the lessening of symptoms associated with depression and anxiety and insomnia and so on. So I just wanted to mention that, and if you're interested, we could send you some information, or you can also Google something like mindfulness and the brain, and you'll come up with just tons of information, which is really fascinating. The point of all that being that it can be kind of counter-habitual to stop and sit down and do nothing, so to speak. So it's not necessarily easy, but like any training, once you start doing it, if you do it in a way that makes you want to do it more, so short sessions, gentle, refreshing, then it just becomes natural. And you'll notice if you skip a day that you can feel different and you want to do it again. I think most meditators would say that. So I think we should just do it a little bit. We can do a short session, and then you can see what questions arise for you. Are there any questions, Marty, meanwhile?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. We don't have any questions as of yet.
Okay, good. So what we'll do is just a very simple, and that's not simple meaning elementary, it's just a simple basic practice. Um, and it begins with just appreciating that you've taken the time to treat yourself well, to feel and be with how you are, just to see, how am I doing? And in this meditation, however you are is what you bring to your meditation. You don't have to be in a calm state of mind. You're just sitting with yourself through all the different weather and seeing how you are. So you begin with just appreciating, having the intention to spend that time with yourself. So there's a lot of caring and intelligence involved in stopping to sit down and be with yourself for a few minutes. So first, then we take our seat, and I really invite you to just follow along wherever you are. So just take a moment and notice what you're sitting on and adjust your body so that you're comfortable. The basic posture for meditation is upright but relaxed. So it's a very universal, dignified human posture. Taking your spot, your seat on the earth, and pausing for a moment to notice the shift to being still. So just feel yourself being still, sitting on the earth. And then we'll do a brief mindfulness of our bodies. It's called a body scan, and there are all different sorts of these. So very simply, we just bring our attention to different parts of ourselves, notice how we're feeling, and relax habitual tensions as we go. So first notice how your eyes are feeling. You can either close your eyes or just leave them open, gazing downward. And just try to relax the muscles around your eyes and in your eyes, your eyebrows and your forehead. Just giving them that care and attention for a moment. And then notice your mouth, your lips, your tongue, your teeth, and let them relax, as well as your jaw. Let your jaw slacken a bit and relax all the way back to your ears. And then just have a sense of your whole face being relaxed, softening it. And then bring your attention to your shoulders and your shoulder blades. Just how are they feeling? Let them be upright and relaxed. And all the way down your arms, nice and loose, relaxed. All the way down, letting your hands and fingers rest on your legs or in your lap. Let your stomach muscles relax as you breathe gently in and out. Notice your back, your spine, from your neck all the way down, nice and upright, but not strained or stiff. It's just strong and gentle. all the way down to your lower back, and really relax your seat onto your chair, and let your abdominal muscles relax. And then bring your attention to your upper legs, noticing how they feel, relaxing. Down through your knees and your lower legs. And then your feet and your toes resting on the earth. And then finally, take a nice breath in through your nose down into your lungs. Notice your chest expanding. Just hold that breath for a moment and then exhale gently. And continue breathing nice and easy, naturally, noticing your chest and stomach moving as you breathe in and out. And imagine your attention moving down from your head, where we often feel like we're dwelling. Just let that come down into your body and rest your attention with that feeling of breathing, with the sensation of your body moving in and out. Just noticing each breath. So really give yourself time to rest from your thoughts, worries. It's a restorative practice. And just come back to the simple situation of sitting and breathing. Let each breath remind you that you're here right now, each breath happening in the present moment. And then just slow your breathing down slightly, not so it's at all strained. That's important, not to force your breath, but just breathe a little slower so it's more intentional, nice and easy, noticing each in breath, each out breath. And then notice the air coming in and out of your nose. Just put your attention on that for a little bit. You might notice that the air that you inhale through your nose is cooler than the air that you exhale. And as we continue sitting with ourselves, I want to introduce to you another mindfulness contemplation practice that helps us to be with how we're feeling, because we're not trying to ignore or reject anything. So this practice is called LOVE. It's an acronym, easy to remember. The L is for locate. So take a moment to scan your attention over yourself and find a sensation, either a physical one or a more emotionally caused one, like maybe tension in your stomach, or it could be a headache. Just select some sensation that you want to focus on for this practice. So after you've located, then the O is for observe. So observe that sensation very openly without attaching names or judgments to it. Just notice where it is in your body. Notice how small or large an area it seems to take up. Maybe it has a temperature or a feeling of a temperature, like hot or cool. It might be sharp or dull or intermittent. Notice how strong it is, and so on. This kind of mindful observation has the qualities of mindfulness, which are curiosity, care, non-judgment, attention, interest, just observing. And then the V in LOVE is for validate. So just accept that you have this feeling just as it is. Accept that you are experiencing it as only you can. No one else can tell you how to experience it. There are no shoulds. So that's also being kind to yourself, just validating. And finally, the E in LOVE means embrace. So rest with this feeling just as you are experiencing it. Very direct, very personal, intimate. And notice if you start thinking about it or talking to yourself about it rather than just being with it. And you can let go of those thoughts and just come back to feeling this feeling. And then as you breathe in, Imagine that you're breathing into that area, into that sensation, embracing it and accepting it. And as you breathe out, just rest in your awareness of the feeling and relax into the space around you. You're breathing in healing oxygen into the sensation with each in-breath, and breathing out tension, fear, and thoughts about the sensation. You are embracing it as you would embrace an injured child that you will hold and comfort without judgment. And take one last long healing in-breath into your located sensation. And a nice relaxed out breath, letting go of thoughts and fears about it. And just return to the simple resting with your breath, your natural breathing in and out. And as we begin to close the meditation, just check over your own body again. Notice your own posture. Most people tend to sink a little bit while you're meditating. You can just lift back up, a sense of your head being up in the sky, feet connected to the earth. Notice if you've tensed up anywhere again in your face, your shoulders, your stomach, and so on. And then turn your attention for a moment to the sounds around you. This is using sounds as our object of meditation, just listening. So just listen for a moment. And notice sounds that are close, that are in the same room with you. And then notice sounds, if you can, that are farther away outside. Notice how your mind drifts in and out of remembering to listen. That's the benefit of this practice, is just noticing that normal process. Each time we come back to our intended focus, we're strengthening our brains and our minds. And then just completely relax Don't do anything at all. Just enjoy being able to sit with yourself, not having to get up yet or do anything. Take a nice sigh of relief. An appreciation for yourself, for your body, mind, heart. Appreciate your chair, your environment. And then if your eyes were closed, as you begin to open them, just notice what you see. And take a moment to look at 3 different things, pausing for about 5 or 10 seconds for each object, and just look at it. And then we can do a nice, about 1 minute post-meditation stretch. It's a nice seated stretch. So as we all know, it's important to be mindful of our circulation and so on. So you won't be able to see all of this, but I'll describe it. So just lift your arms way up, stretch up, look up, relax your shoulders, and take a nice breath. And then lace your fingers together and turn your hands outward and stretch to each side. And only do what feels comfortable for your own particular body. So just stretching to each side and then to the back. And then twisting, you just look around the back of your chair. You can put an arm on the back of your chair and just look around to each side. That keeps our organs from being stagnant and gives our necks and shoulders and backs a little twist. Okay. And then shoulder rolls just to the back, pressing your shoulder blades together. And then to the front. And then 2 very gentle head rolls in each direction. Okay, and then stretching your arms way up, rotate your wrists quickly if you can, wherever you can. This is for circulation as well, and to give your wrists some rotation. If you're sitting around too much, sometimes this is good to do. Just lift your arms and rotate your wrist, get your blood flowing. And then these hand presses are for carpal tunnel. You just press your fingers down and you can feel a nice stretch on your inner wrist and arm and fingers. We'll do that with each hand. That's great if you're typing a lot or driving. Okay, and almost done. Then ankle rolls are really important for circulation. Just rolling your feet around. And then the last one is to put your legs out straight if you can and flex your muscles all the way down And then move your feet back and forth like that. And that also helps with circulation and engages your muscles a little bit. So that's just a really nice seated routine. When we were still out and about, I always taught that in my office meditation settings. Good. So that's our body, mind, heart.
Patricia, we do have a couple of questions.
Great.
One is, during meditation, if people have difficulty worrying about a major problem, how do you recommend letting go of that?
Well, thank you for asking that, because that's a universal question and it's an important question. Meditation really requires a balance because it's based on being kind to yourself. So it's this balance between precision and gentleness, not too tight, not too loose, not too harsh, not too, squishy, or whatever the opposite of harsh is. So it's good to sit no matter how you're feeling and just notice how you're feeling. There might be some meditation sessions where you feel like your mind was very distracted, very full, but just the act of stopping and sitting on the earth and breathing is 99% of this practice. It doesn't matter what your state of mind is. So somebody once said that if you only notice your mind thinking once and come back to your breath once, you are accomplishing the practice. So every time you do that is good. The balance aspect is that sometimes meditation might not be what you need at the moment. You might need to call someone, or you might need to sleep, rest, take a bath, take a walk. But no matter what you do, you can always bring these mindfulness principles to it, the principles of kindness and paying attention with this loving curiosity to what you're doing. Walking is a wonderful way of taking care of your body and mind and practicing mindfulness. So, for example, if you're out walking, instead of just habitually ruminating the whole time, you can use sounds like we did as the support for your attention, and just notice the sounds as you're walking. And then you'll notice your mind sort of sink back into your worries. And then when you notice that, just go back out to listening. And it actually physically, neurologically restores you. You can feel it. It feels good. So just, you're the only judge of your what you need. So you have to push a little bit, but not to the extent of being masochistic. So ask another question if that didn't help, because that's a really good question.
Great. Thank you. Another attendee said, for the out breath, do you recommend breathing through your nose or your mouth?
On the one hand, it doesn't really matter, but I think it's probably better if you're able to just breathe through your nose, because your mouth can get really dried out if you're breathing through your mouth. But if your nose is blocked, you can breathe through your mouth. But the point of it is to keep it very simple. We're not trying to, this isn't a practice where we're using different breathing techniques or trying to manipulate our breath. We're just using our natural breath as a focal point, a reference point for our mind, for our attention. So whatever is comfortable for you is fine. Same goes for the eyes. Many people assume that you should close your eyes when you meditate, but actually all my training was with open eyes. And either one is okay. They both have pros and cons. So when you close your eyes, it's easier to fall asleep. It's easier to drift into a dreaminess kind of, but it also reduces distraction. And when your eyes are open, it helps keep you more in touch, more grounded with where you are. And it just takes a little getting used to. Very quickly, you get used to eyes open. So whatever you like, you can just notice the difference.
Thank you. Another attendee asked, can I do this in a chair? Do I have to sit on the floor with legs crossed like in the picture?
Thank you for asking that. I should have mentioned that. Thanks. Yes, you can sit on a chair. You can sit on the floor. You can sit outside on a rock, on a bench. And if you're not well, you can do it in bed. So whatever you can do, the sitting up part helps you stay awake. So if you're able to sit up, that's the best. But I've done it in illness, lying down, that's also fine. If you're sitting in a chair, it's recommended that you not lean back like that, just to sit up as you would on a cushion with a nice upright back, feet on the floor rather than crossing your legs. So just a nice upright posture.
Thank you. Is there a length of time that is a good place to start for beginners?
Short. Like anything, if you set too stringent a goal for yourself, you'll end up not liking it and having more resistance. So all of the great meditation masters have said that short sessions done more frequently are better than one long one done less frequently. So I would recommend, if you're able to actually make a time for yourself to sit and do this formally, start with 5 minutes and then stretch it to 10. It's good to time yourself, to set a timer, like on your phone, or like one way I have always liked to do it is burning a little stick of incense that I know is the length of the time I want to meditate. You can figure that out, like 20 minutes is that long. And then you just sit until it's burned up. Or an alarm clock, or just your watch. But the more you can do to work with the natural resistance that comes up, our busyness and our thoughts like, I really need to get up and have a cup of coffee right now, or I really need to do something. Those are all natural thoughts. I like to say it's like we're in a river. Our life is like this river going forward, and it's very difficult to go against that. So actually, there's a story about the Buddha. Somebody asked what was the essence of these teachings about mindfulness meditation. And he threw his cup into the river and it floated upstream instead of floating down with the current. So that's one of those lovely metaphorical stories about what we're doing. We're going against our habitual current, where we can spend our entire life just lost in thoughts, and reacting habitually to everything. So this kind of meditation is empowering us to see our thoughts, make a relationship with them so that they don't totally control us. We can just see them, say, oh my gosh, I'm really anxious. What am I going to do about that? instead of just being anxious and being controlled by that. So that was a bit of a tangent, but it's also really good if you can join a group, because it's very supportive to be in a group where someone else is controlling the timing and so on and giving instructions. So I really encourage you to do that as well.
Patricia, would you mind talking a little bit about your group that meets on Thursday?
I love my group that meets on Thursday. It's the Sibley Seniors Association, one of the meditation groups. There's another one on Tuesdays at 11. Mine is on Thursdays from 1 to 2. And you're all welcome. The association, Honora, sends out a message with a Zoom link every week. And it's a group that's been meeting for years. But as of March, we started meeting by Zoom. And almost everybody has become familiar with that, which is wonderful. So we get to see each other once a week. It's very joyful. And we do a meditation session. Anything else to say about that, Marty?
I would just point out, as you did mention, that we do have 2 sessions that are happening on 2 different days and at 2 different times. So Layla Kenny is the person that leads the Tuesday one, and I'm sure she would welcome people to her group as well. So whatever day is most convenient for you. As for me, I find that one thing I just wanted to mention as we start to wrap things up is that another great benefit of meditation is that it has been statistically shown to, in addition to reducing depression and anxiety, as you mentioned earlier, it's known to reduce a person's blood pressure, to reduce high blood pressure, and also it is known as helpful in reducing pain. And so this particular practice, mindfulness meditation, does a lot of good for our bodies, in addition to training our minds and increasing our gray matter, and particularly in our frontal lobe. It also relieves some of the things that often happen as a result of aging. A lot of us have higher blood pressure as we age, and so these are great practices to engage in for your health, in not just your mental and emotional health, but also your physical health.
Yeah.
Which is why we do this.
Yeah, inflammation is another one.
Oh,
yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you for bringing that up. Patricia, I want to give our sincere thanks to you for coming and sharing your wisdom and your understanding of the meditation practice to us, sharing it with us, and helping us walk through a beginner session. And I look forward to I look forward to hearing how other people might find this to be a beneficial practice in everybody's life. And I love the term practice, because we don't end up being perfect. We're not looking for perfection. We're looking for practice. And so Honora put something in the webinar chat window that shows the link for the Thursday session. So before you hop off today's call, if you're interested in participating, it's right in the chat window. You can copy it. If you use your mouse to mouse over that, you can do a Control-C and then paste it into another window by using Control-V, and that will allow you to save it to another window. In addition, you can go to the chat window where right to the left, I'm sorry, I said left, to the right of where it says to, and there's an ellipsis. If you scroll over that, it will allow you to, it says more, and oh, that is not what it is in another format. So we'll just keep the Control C to copy and a Control V to paste. In addition, I want to, in addition to thanking Patricia, I want to also thank Maple Heights Senior Living for for sponsoring this event today. And you can call them at 202 for those of you who may be calling in versus being on your computer today. You can call it 202-774-8553. I'll repeat that, 202-774-8553. And the email is info, I-N-F-O, @mapleheightsliving.com. That's MAPLEHEIGHTSLIVING.com. And Maple Heights can be located at 5100 Georgia Avenue Northwest in DC. They offer you assisted living and memory care, and they do have availability at this time. So we thank them again for sponsoring. And for Patricia, we thank you so much for being with us today, for teaching us, for leading us. And Honora, as always, we thank you for keeping us informed and leading us in a lot of new programming too. So we thank you, Honora, for all of that. Thank you for attending, all of you who joined us today. And we look forward to welcoming you in a couple of weeks when we will be leading a webinar on building resilience, particularly during the time of COVID, building resilience in the time of COVID-19. We thank you again and look forward to seeing you again in a couple of weeks. Be well, everyone.